Hello all and welcome to Wow Crochet yet again for another tutorial. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on the eye for our necklace. Now I was going to work on the eye and the other two pieces for each end of our necklace, but apparently this eye took forever. So we're just going to work on the eye today and attaching the eye to our necklace. Look at that. So spooky. Yes, guys, it is for our Halloween series. If you are joining us new today, we are doing a Halloween series here at Wow Crochet where we are making quite a large number of Halloween items, and this one is one of them. And we have also made quite a few other items. I will leave a link in the description box down below for our other items, and you can have a play of those as well. But in the meantime, today we are making this gorgeous eye. For this tutorial, you will need five colors. You are going to be doing the black first, then the green, then yellow, red, black, white, and then finally black. You will need very, very minimal, 1-2 grams each, maybe less even. This is a 4-ply cotton, which is a number 2 in some countries. So you will need a thinner cotton for this part and not a thick one. You will need 3 or 4 stitch markers, whichever you like to use. You will need that darning needle. Sorry guys, you've got a lot of darning in this one. You will need your scissors and you will need a hook size to suit your yarn, and this is a 3.5mm hook to suit our 4-ply yarn or a number 2 yarn. So there you go. How gorgeous is this eye? Oh. The only stitch used in this tutorial were single crochets and chains. Pretty coolio, huh? And of course you had to sew the eye onto your piece. That was a little bit fiddly for me. Hopefully you don't find it as Italy, but there you go. All right, I'm not going to talk anymore because the tutorial once again goes for a long time, but I would like for you to go ahead and make your eye. Good luck, guys. Alrighty guys, we're going to start off with a magic ring or a magic circle, magic loop. You grab your tail end, pass it in front of your fingers there, 3 fingers, wrap your working yarn around your fingers and across the tail end. I'll get a nice close up for you so you can see. So what you've formed is a little cross there, or an X, or whatever you want to call it, okay? So pop your hook under your first loop, pull that back loop up. All right, so now what you've got is that you need to grab everything with your fingers and then you can let go with that hand and get ready to pass everything back again. And now you're going to chain 1. I'm going to have to get some super close shots here, guys, because this is very thin yarn, okay? So you're chaining 1, now you're going to put a single crochet in that space. Single crochet as you're popping your hook in the space, pulling up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. Now you can actually grab that little tail end there, just give it a gentle tug, not too much, because you're going to need to put more single crochets in that space. But before you do, it's very difficult to see black at the best of times. So what I'm going to do is pass your stitch marker in through your stitch. Okay, what you're doing is you're putting 2 loops on top and 1 on the bottom. It's a bit fiddly, sorry guys. Close up your stitch marker and get ready for the rest. All right, you have to do another 5 more single crochets. So 1, yes, and 2. Let's move this out of the way so you can see. Okay, 3, 4, 5. All right, now if you're not sure whether you've done 5, just count these little tiny little V's that you see there. Bit tricky, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then there's 1 that we've got in our stitch marker. All right, okay, now this is the fiddly part, guys. Just give your tail, that little tail, let me bring this out a bit so you can see what I'm doing. See, you've got your working yarn there, you've got your tail there, just give it a tug Now I'll show you closely so you can see, and it will close up everything. Then you grab your little hook and you pop it in that first stitch with a slip stitch, like so. Giving it a tug, pull a loop through. You're going to cut your work. You're thinking, what, already? It's so small. Yes, I know. It's very small. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to start in an area where there is no tail. Not only because I don't like to start where there's a tail, but also because, see how it's kind of thickened up a little bit there with the knot? We don't want that knot there eventually. That's going to be weaved in eventually. But if you keep adding your colour on the same spot there, that knot's going to get thick, and you're going to have thick on one side and small on the other side. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take that stitch marker out. It was only there to help us find the stitch at the end of the row. We're going to take that stitch marker out. We're going to pop our hook anywhere you like where there's not an end. So maybe just there. All right? In the stitch, you're popping it between 2 loops on top and the 1 loop on the bottom. Just pop that down for a minute. So we're going to get the next colour. The next colour is green. Okay, you can use any colours you like. This is the colour combination I used the first time. So I used the black, the green, the yellow, and then the red. And then we went to the black at the very end. All right, now that's not a very good one to show you because I did it like an eye patch where it bends over like that. We want ours to be flat. So we're going to adding more stitches in there. All right, so let's start. Okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to grab your green and you're just going to pass the loop through like that. That's all you're doing. No knots, no nothing. We'll sort that out later. In that stitch there, you're going to chain 1 first, give it a tug. All right, we're going to do a single crochet in the same space. And I'm actually crocheting over part of my tail. So single crochet, 1. Okay, now you're going to grab that stitch marker again and we're going to find the little stitch. And it's a lot easier to find with the green, I found. It was just very difficult with that black. But you know, it's part of it all. You want it to look good. So you want to use the black here. All right, so that's that. Now you pop another single crochet in the same space. Easy, easy. It sure is. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. Each stitch across, you're going to make sure you make each stitch, you're putting 2 single crochets in each stitch. Okay, now remember we did 6 stitches to begin with. All right, so what we're going to have in the end is 12. Okay, so there's 2 there, 2 there, 2 in your next 1 and 2. Now, if you've come up to that knot and you're a little bit confused, just hold it in your hand at the back like I've done there. And you will see your very next, you will notice it. It won't be that knot right there, but it'll be the stitch right next to the knot. Okay, so you're putting 2 in there, 1 and 2. Don't worry, we'll fix up that gap. If that gap's opening, we'll fix it up later. And then 1 and 2 in the next. And then 1 and 2 in your last. So hopefully that's 12 stitches. We're going to count that in a minute. Okay, pull up that loop. All right, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And why have we got 10 and 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like I've only put 1 in there. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have put 1 there. It's tricky. See that little one right there? It's just very tight. So sometimes if your tension is tight, you'll get that look and you may miss it on the next round. So be careful. I'm telling you as I messed up. Hey, what do you do? Okay, what's happened to my stitch? Here we go. All right, now what we're going to do, that stitch marker right there, it's very fiddly, isn't it, guys? Sorry. That stitch marker right there, we are going to slip stitch, that nice tight stitch, and pull that loop through there and through to the loop on your hook. And guess what? You're going to pull up a loop and cut again because we're going to change colors again, we're going to our yellow. Actually, I'm not sure what colors you're using. I will be using the yellow. Now, before you go on, I find these ends to be relatively annoying in small pieces. I had a lot of problems. I was pulling through loops and all sorts of weird things were happening. So I would like for you now to weave in some of these ends. I'm going to show you one, just the top green one there, and then you can head off on your own and do them as you're going along. It sounds weird, but it is a lot easier. Make sure though that your stitches are correct and you've got 12. Otherwise, you're going to have to, it's going to be difficult to take undone. All right, so this one here, all you're doing is slip stitching right across. Now remember, no one's going to see the other side of the eye, and even if they do, we try and keep it as neat as possible. At the back, where you see the threads, that's where the back is. So just weave it along there. Then going back the other way, slipping a few threads, or splitting, sorry, I meant to say splitting, my apologies. Splitting a few threads. I'm working too hard today, guys. It's going to be a very busy week this week. Okay, and splitting again the other way, making sure you can't actually see the needle in front there. You can see the needle in front. Don't worry about that because that's supposed to be there. If you see that needle right along here, you have to take it undone, all right? Because it means that it's, you know, you'll be able to see it in front and you don't want that. All right, so what we'll do, we'll snip that one there. It's a little bit awkward to do this way, but believe me, it works better when you are working on it. I found working on it with the long tails, it was a disaster. Okay, so we're going to I'll just show you that middle, see that middle one? You want that eye to be closed, don't you? A lot of people say it would have been better to put chains. I know I spoke to some friends and they said next time do chains, but I actually like the magic ring when it comes to tight stitching. I think it works better. So what you do, you just give it a tug and it closes up shop. Yeah, and this is an eye, so you want it to be as closed as possible. If you know how to do it where you can do it with just chain 1 and 2 and 3, that's fine. But for me, I think this is the best way. And all you're doing, I know it's really hard to see, you are just going in and out of the center that you made. Being careful, again, not to show your work on that side. It's very tricky because it's small and thin yarn, and I'm sorry guys, but that's the best way to make an eye. Nice and tight and small. And I use this way of making it in graph gans as well. If you've ever seen me do graph gans, you probably won't, but I use it in graph gans as well. So just keep putting your hook in and out of that center. You do not want that center to open up in the future. So just keep doing it. Oh, it's really tight now. But you want that. You want that nice tight look. Okay. I'm not going to show you the rest of the ends. You can do that off air, or I can do it off air later. And I'll show you what I mean when I'm working on my long tail. How you can actually accidentally pull the loop through and not know you're doing it, okay? You could be using the wrong loop. Lucky it's different colours. We'll see that it's different colours. So pop your black out the way and your green. We are going to be working on your yellow. All right? Once again, we're going to work on different areas where we just left off. If you can't remember, you'll always be able to tell because there'll be a tiny little bump where you left off. So I know for a fact that I worked the opposite side of the first side that I worked on. So I always pop it right flat bang in the middle, anywhere you like, anywhere for this row, okay? The next row and the row after might be a little different. But for this row here, you can pop it here. All right, just passing your tail over. All right, so we are chaining 1 and popping a single crochet in the same space. Grab your stitch marker. I know I'm grabbing different ones all the time, but they're there. As long as you've got stitch markers, who cares what colour they are, right? Okay, well, you do care when you're making big jobs because you rely on the colour, okay? So we're going to leave that 1 on its own. Usually we put 2 in there, but I find putting the second one in at the end is better, okay? It makes your centre more centred. So I'm going to crochet over, a little bit over the tail end. We're doing 1 single crochet in your next space. And in your next space, you're doing 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. So we are still increasing because we want our eye to be round. Okay, now here's your knot. That's not a stitch there. The stitch is just after the knot. So what you're going to do is drop your yellow tail now You're going to work over that green tail to lock it all into place. So jump into that stitch right there over the knot and put 1 single crochet. Okay, your next stitch you're putting 2 single crochets, and we are crocheting a little bit over the tail. One more, 1 single crochet in your next, and that's it for the tail. All right, pass it at the back, and then do 2 single crochets in your next. So really all you're doing is 1, 2, 1, 2 all the way along until you get to your first stitch. 1 into your next, 2 into your next. You're finding it easier to work with now because it's a little bit bigger, the patch, yeah? And 1 into the next. Oh, hang on, how many have I done there? 2? Yep. Wake up, Mary. 2 into your next. 1 and 2. And if you did your sums right, you should have 1 left for 1 only. So you pop 1 in there. Now remember we did 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 all the way around, and I said we're going to pop the second single crochet at the end, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So we're popping our second single crochet in that first space that we worked with there. Then we are slip stitching into that stitch marker. Pull your loop through, pull your loop through again, giving it a nice tug, pull up a loop, and guess what? You're going to cut it again. All right, it's looking gorgeous. I know, right? See, it's already looking so much better than this. I know you can't tell, but I can. It is looking so much better already. I can see that big lump there from, you know, the knot, but I can't see it here. It's perfect. Yeah. All right, take out your stitch marker. You don't need it there anymore. Grab your next color, which is the red. I love this color. Yes, you guys know it's my favorite of the whole series, of any series, red. All right, so now we need to start. I find it easier in this case normally to start in the place where we left off because we are still increasing, but it doesn't really matter. You can start in any one of your 2 single crochets or your 1, it doesn't matter. I'm going to start anywhere. In a normal beanie, you would start in the same so you don't confuse yourself, but because we're working together, it doesn't matter. I won't let you get confused, promise. So pop your hook anywhere you like. Listen to me. Poor things, they're thinking we're already confused. Okay, pull a loop through. All right, and grab your little tail end, passing it over, and away we go. Okay, we are again chaining 1. Now in the last round, we did your 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we're going to do 1. We're going to do 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So you've done your chain. We're going to do a single crochet in that first space. Now after, I'll first put the stitch marker in, right there. But in that same space right here, you're going to put 2 single crochets, but not now. You'll do that second one when you come back around, like I said before with the other one, okay? In the meantime, we're going to put a single crochet in the next one. I'm working over my tail, by the way. We're going to put a single crochet in the next one. So that's 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and in this one here, we're putting 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. Easy. Just going to pass that red tail at the back now because I want to work over that yellow. It's not necessary, you don't need to, but that is actually a stitch right there. So you can see the 2 loops on top, the V. So we're going to pop our single crochet in there, just 1. And then 1 in the next. This is a knot, so don't confuse it with a stitch. Don't put your hook in there. Jump straight into that next stitch with a single crochet. Okay? And now you're putting 2 in the next. 1 and 2. And then you're doing 1, 1, and then 2 in your next. Then, oh, you can drop that tail in now. Just going right up for too long. Then you're doing 1 in the next, 1 in your next, and 2 in your next. 1 and 2. Then 1 in your next, 1 in your next, and 2 in your next. Oops, move that stitch marker out the way. 1 and 2. Now, if you played your cards right, you should only have 1 and 2 stitches left. If you have more or less, then your count is off a little bit. So you're just going to put 1 single crochet in your first one, 1 in your second one, and remember we hadn't increased that extra one in there. We're going to pop that extra single crochet in the same space that you're working in with your stitch marker, the same space right there. Then you're going to slip stitch into, oh dear, I've done it so tight. Sorry guys, there's always one I do tight. I'm going to take mine out, but slip stitch into your stitch marker. If yours is as tight as mine, good luck. Oh, it's not bad once we take the stitch marker out, really. Oh, there you go. All right, gorgeous. I know, you must be getting sick of me singing that. I do it in every tutorial. Sorry guys. Pull a loop through. Guess what? You're going to change your colour yet again. I know. So see how that can become very annoying? Yeah, I'm leaving it there just for you guys, but that can become very annoying. All right, your next colour is black. We are going back to your black. Okay. All right, there we go. Again, we are going to start anywhere we like. It doesn't matter. You don't have to start your doubles in the same doubles. You can start it anywhere you like, and I just think it's better. It makes a better round if you start it in a different spot. That's just me. So pop your loop through anywhere you like, grabbing your tail, passing it over, and you are doing, obviously, a chain. Yes. Then you're popping your single crochet in that first stitch. Again, try not to make it too tight. Let's grab your stitch marker, and this is going to be awkward to see because it's black. Okay, I find black and white, to be honest with you, both difficult to see online. That's interesting. Yeah, remember before we did 2 and then we did 1 1 2 1 1 2. Now we're going to do 2 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 2. All right, so that's going to be our 2, but we're only going to put 1 for now. Put the second one on the way back. We're going to do 1 in your next, 1 in your next, and 1 in your next. Just drop that tail end if you like now. Popping 2 single crochets in your next space. 1 and 2. Okay, 1 in your next, 1 in your next, and 1 in your next. Popping 2 single crochets in your next. 1 and 2. So it's 3 ones across and then 2. 3 ones, 2. 3 ones, 2, and so on. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and 3. And then 2 in your next. 1 and 2. And then you go 1. If you're anywhere near not like I am, I pass the tail over and crochet over that. You don't need to, but I will crochet in that space right next to it. 2, and the knot is not a stitch. Jump over that knot and get into the next space. 3, and then 2 in the next. 1, 2, and then you do 1, 2, and 3, 2 in the next. 1 and 2. And again, if you played your cards right, you should have 1, 2, and 3 stitches left. That's a really tight stitch, but it is there. So it's 1, 2, and 3. Remember, we didn't put 2 into that first one. We're going to pop that second one in now. And then once again, we're going to slip stitch. Oh dear, there we go. Nearly into that stitch right there. Pull up a loop, and you guessed it, we're going to cut it again. All right, take out your stitch marker. What I would suggest to do before we start anything else is to head off on our own just quickly for a second and weave in all these ends. Just don't weave in your last one because we can work over that. Weave in all these ends, come back and meet me here, and we'll get ready for the next step. How'd you go, guys? Huh? Good? all weaved in. We've got that one little tail. If you've weaved that in, that's okay too. I'm using this tail to help me guide me into the next step. All right, now remembering not to work on your wrong side, you are working on your right side all the time. Now your wrong side is where we weaved in all those tails, okay? There's the tail right there, yep. Just grab your stitch marker, put it anywhere as close to opposite as you can get. Any stitch you like. Roughly opposite, doesn't have to be perfect. Not that part, doesn't anyway. All right, now you're going to count back with another stitch marker. Count back 1, 2, counting that stitch marker right there, yes. You go 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's your working stitch marker, and I call that working because that is where you're going to start working. So you can take this one out completely. All right, pop your hook in that stitch marker, and we're going to work with 7 chains using our white. I'm sorry, try 7 single crochets using our white. Oh, Mary, get it right. All right, so grab your white. Okay, again, like normal, just pulling your loop through like so. Past your tail end, everything's normal, and we're going to be doing our stitches like normal as well. So chaining 1, single crochet in that first stitch, working over your tail end if you like, single in your next, 2, and next, 3, 4, I'm going to drop the tail now, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so you have 7 single crochets in your white. Chain 1. You're going to turn your work now. You're going to be working on your wrong side. Drop that tail end, but you're not working in the very first stitch. You are skipping it. You are jumping straight into your next stitch with a single crochet 1, single 1 in the next, single 1 in your next. That's 3, 4, and 5. And if you did your math right, you should have 1 left. Don't do anything with it. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do the same thing. We're only going to do 3 across this time. Skip that first one, jump into your next. 1, 2, and 3. Again, you should have 1 left. Don't do anything. Chain 1, turn. Now you're skipping the first one and you're doing 1 single crochet only in your next. Skipping that, just pulling a loop through and cut your work. That is one side of your eye done. Don't pull it too tight because we need that center right there to work in later. All right? Alrighty guys, so that's the right side, still the right side. We are still working on that right side. See your little last space you did right there? Let's get a nice little close up right there. That's your last space. Go into your next and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm sorry. Let's try it again. All right, see that space there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And on the 9th one, you're popping your hook in. All right, grab your little tail here. Pulling your loop through. We're not going to cast off at the end of this side of the eye, okay? So chaining 1, single crochet in the same space, and you can crochet over the tail if you like. Single crochet in your next space. I'm going to drop it because I want to crochet over that black one as well. So there's the last stitch for the black one. Pop your hook in, pass your black one over, and you do a single crochet in there. Jump over the stitch, do a single in your next. Oh, how many have we done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, now we are chaining 1, turning your work, working on the wrong side now. Skip that first one, jump into your next. It's exactly the same as the other side. 1, 2, just a little fiddly because we've got some ends there. 3, 4, and 5. All right, remember to skip that one. Chain 1, turn your work, skip the first one, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, turn your work, skip the first one, 1, chain 1, turn your work. We'll pop a single crochet in that first stitch. And what you're going to do is pop your stitch marker in there, because this is going to be one full round. Okay, so we're going to have to come back and slip stitch into that stitch. All right, chain 1 and a single crochet in the same stitch. Now here's where it gets a little fiddly. Okay, we're in that stitch right there. We're going to jump straight into that very next space, 1, which is also a stitch. Go into the next little tiny little dip you see right there, little space there, 2. Go into the single crochet that you see there, 3. Go into that space right there that you formed. That's actually half of the single crochet, 4. Okay, so you've done 4 along there. Now across here, to stop this from happening, see how that's all curved on that one? We're going to add a couple of more stitches in here, and that'll stop it from curving. But first, we're going to jump straight into that same stitch right there that our previous stitch was in. Okay, so jump into there with a single crochet, and then do a single crochet in your next stitch, 1, and then 1 in your next, 2. Now in your next stitch, you're going to put 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. Then you go 1 in your next, 2, 3 in a row, that is, not 3 in one stitch. And in that third one, you're putting a second single crochet. Then you're putting 1 in your next, 1 in your next, and you're actually jumping into the stitch first there. Then you're jumping into the actual white stitch there. All right, that has actually made it a bit wider here so we don't buckle, so the work doesn't buckle that way or bow that way. All right, so now we are jumping into that very next space, that little one you see there, 1 there, wherever you see a space, 1 there. All right, now we're getting towards that area where we're going to add a stitch, 1 there. Now see that stitch there? What you're going to do is jump in there with a single crochet, chain 1. With that chain 1, we need to have a stitch marker around that chain 1. I don't know if you want to put it in later or first, I don't know, but that's what we want to do. It's a bit tricky when you put it in first, but anyway, and then pop another single crochet in the same space. Because later when we do our black row, because we've got 1 row left to do, we want to pop our corner piece in there. It's really hard to find. All right, our corner stitch in there. It's really, really hard to find later because we are using fairly thin yarn. So make sure you pop your stitch marker in between your 2 single crochets and just in that chain space, if that helps. All right, so you're going to leave that space because we're already in it. You're going to jump into your next space with a single crochet. I'm going to drop that tail now. And that's the space we're in now. Then jump into your very next space with another single crochet and 1 into your stitch right there, and then 1 into the space of the next stitch, and then 1 into the actual stitch that we're in. And now we're counting 1, 2, and in your third one you're doing 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And then you're counting 1, 2, 3. And in this one, because I've got too many stitches along here, and it happens, you don't have to be perfect. You're popping, pop another single crochet in the same space as that third one. And then single crochet 1 in your next, 1 in your next. Remember, we're putting 1 in the space, and then 1 in the actual single crochet. Oh, I split the yarn. Let's try that again. Nice tight stitch there. 1 in there. 1 in that next space right next to it. 1 in your stitch. 1 in your stitch right next to your top part. sorry, yeah, one in that stitch there, sorry, right there. So we're going to put one in there, that space right there. Whoops, my thread just went loose, sorry guys. I'm using just some leftover yarn that I had, and it just played a bit of yarn chicken there. Look at that. Look at that yarn chicken. What? You didn't see that. Okay, so let's get back to... I'm sorry, but I got distracted, didn't I? All right, so we put one in there. Now what we're going to do is slip stitch into the first single crochet that we did. All right, slip stitch in there, right through there. Yes. And now chain one, or yeah, pull up a loop like we normally do, and cast off that thread. Now remember this stitch here, we're actually in the stitch. You want to take your stitch marker out and get into the chain. Oops. Oh, that didn't work. I just pulled the thread, didn't I? That's no good. So there was the single crochet that we did. There was the other single crochet that we did in the space. Right in there, that little chain stitch right there, we want to get into that space. And that's where we're going to put our black, oh, did I just split it? No, there it is. That's where we're going to put our black stitch later. All right. In the meantime, we're going to start from this end here because there's no tails and it's easier for me to start from there. Pop your hook in that spot. Grab your black thread. This is the best bit, guys. Cut your white thread if you haven't. Mine just a big dangle thread because I already had a short end. Grab your black, pulling it through. Oops, oops. Splitting stitches as we go along. Dearie me, I'm doing well. Well, this is the last row, guys, so get excited. Well, for this piece anyway. Chain one and single crochet in the same space. Yes, no stitches, no chains or anything now. I'm sorry, first we'll pop that stitch marker in, that single crochet right there. Okay, you're going to pop another single crochet in that space. Then, this is the easy bit, guys. I'm going to weave that thread in later so that you can see. Right there is your very first stitch. You pop a single crochet in there and a single crochet in your next. And your next, and your next, and don't miss any because this is a this is the last row, and if you miss one you will tug and your eye will bend and twist and all sorts of weird things will happen. All right, we want a nice flat eye because it's going to lay flat when we attach it to our necklace. Yay. So get excited, guys, this is your final row. You did well. Pat yourself on the back. Yes. If you wanted a thicker top part, you could do a second row, but that might make your work curve because we didn't add extra stitches in this row that we're doing now. Okay, we don't want a curvy work, we want it to be nice and flat, our eye. Okay, we're near that little stitch marker up the top. And once we get in there, we can actually take that stitch marker out and we're done. I'm just going to pop that thread down in front of me because I'm going to crochet over it in that stitch right there. All right, I'm going to take this undone. There's the single crochet. We'll pop our hook in the single crochet first. Then we jump into the space where the chain is. And we go 1 and 2. And then there's your single crochet next to it. 1. And then you're going all the way down the row. Down, up, around, however you want to do it, because it's all over the place, isn't it? It's kind of angled and everywhere. But get excited, guys, because we are at the end. Oh, very exciting. I hope you weaved your ends in as you went along and didn't do what I did, even though I told you to. I still didn't do it. I'm very naughty. Oh, well, it happens. All right, we're nearly there, nearly there, nearly there. We certainly are nearly there. And I'm rushing now to get this row done because I want to get to the end of the row, get excited and watch my hands start shaking, you know, the usual stuff. All right, here we go. We're near the end. Now remember, in that stitch that we did right at the top, we've already put our 2 single crochets. So really all you're doing is putting 1 single crochet in the stitch before it, and then you are slip stitching into that black right there. Pull up a loop, grab your scissors and give it a tug. Take out your stitch marker and get excited, guys, because you are done. And see how nicely that lays flat? Yes. Look at the first one I did last week to show you guys. Look at it curve. Okay, so really, see how it kind of curves? The curving would be nice if you filled it up. Like if you had another layer here and you put some stuffing in there, that would be nice. But when we want it to sit flat as jewellery does, we want it nice and straight. But look at that eye. Is it not gorgeous? Ah. Now, test time. Let's grab the necklace to see how it looks. All right, so I think the best way to do this, I put it there and I counted the stitches across here. What we're going to do is do the count. All right, that is the corner of your little piece. From there, you are counting. Grab your little stitch marker if it helps. Your hook. There's your 1 stitch. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Grab your little stitch marker and pop it in there for now. Should have just used a stitch marker in the first place, hey? All right, that's that. Yes? Then you grab your stitch marker. This is the right side, by the way. I'm working on the right side. You do the same here. You go 12 back. But you go 12 back from the stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Pop your stitch marker in there. All right, turning it around, facing us. Let's have a look-see. There you go. Your eye needs to work like that, from eye to eye to eye to eye, right? That's how it needs to be. Centering, well, as best you can, all right? But that's where your stitch needs to go. 1 stitch there and 1 stitch there, all right? In the meantime, do yourselves a quick favor first. Weave in all these ends and then come back to us and we'll adjust it to the piece, all right? Ta-da! Gorgeous! I know, all weaved in. I love it. I love it so much. But then again, you know me. I love everything. Okay, where's my black? What you will need for this part here, my dears, you will need quite a bit of your black yarn. Okay, doesn't matter how much, it's enough. We're going to be sewing around our piece. Okay, so just, I don't know, just, you know, give yourself, you know, small amounts, you know, large amounts, whatever you want to use. Doesn't matter. We're only weaving in 1 thread. We're not doing 2. Usually when we're sewing in like that, and we're sewing in 2. But we're only going to sew in 1 because our piece is relatively tiny and you don't want to see the thread. Now, how do we sew it, I hear you ask? First, how do we attach it? Remember how I said you've got your piece there and your piece there, and you've got your 12 stitches along there? Oh, you probably don't need that stitch marker there, but it does show you the middle. So what you do is you just fold your eye in half, like so, and find as close to the middle as you can get. Pop your stitch marker in. All right, now we're not using the wrong side, which kind of looks a tad bubbled and messy, right? We're using the right side. Yes, that's the right side of our necklace. That's the right side of our eye. We are popping the wrong side of our eye to the right side of the necklace, and I hope that helps. All right, so in actual fact, your right side of your eye and your right side of your necklace is facing you. So that's actually how people will see your necklace. All right, they'll look at it and they'll see that there. All right, so let's bring it back up again. All right, now remember we did our stitch marker there. Yes, and we did our stitch marker there. The eye itself is a little bit bigger than your piece, than your necklace. That's okay too. It doesn't matter if it sticks out a little bit, that's fine. We're going to fix that too. So grab your stitch marker from that 12th stitch, keeping it on the 12th stitch, and maybe popping it on the second last stitch maybe. Whoops, I can get it in. A tight stitch there. I'm doing well. Yeah, on your second last stitch, maybe. Yes. grabbing the other side, doing exactly the same on your second last stitch. Oops, I don't want to lose that stitch there. And so there's your first, second, maybe third, whatever. Second last, I don't know, it doesn't matter, whatever. Because we're going to check to see if it pulls or tugs. If it does, we're going to take it undone. Okay, so if you carefully lift up your work before stitching that down, make sure that is perfect on that side. Turning your work and it's relatively flat on that side. Turning back again. Now, there's your center of your work. Remember these 3 stitches that we did here. Remember those 3 stitches that we did on the necklace? 1, 2, 3. Your eye, that centerpiece, has to fit on that center of that 3rd middle stitch right there. So just take it undone a little bit. I'll pop it the right side around firstly for starters. And just grab the stitch anywhere. Hang on, which one is it now? Oh, I've just lost the eye. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Okay, so there's the 3 stitches. Just grab that center stitch, passing your thread, your stitch marker around it like so. That's all you're doing at this stage, because all we're doing is checking to see how it looks. I know it's going to be pulling a little bit because we've gone around the stitch, but that is pretty much the gist of it. So turn your work around, having a careful look at where your eye sits. Okay, now I'm looking and I'm seeing that a little bit too much white on that side and not enough there. So just adjust it to suit. It's got to fit around it. If it helps you, just follow the red. The red. All right. Now, grab your needle. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. However, you don't want to actually go right through to your stitch here. All you want to do is literally, firstly, grab your thread. Now there's no knots in our threads yet. We're just going to pop it through one of the stitches here. Any stitch on your red side. Pop through as far as you can go, leaving yourself a nice long tail. You're going to need that at the end, yes? And then all you do, if it helps you to put pins in, you can. You grab your needle and you're going through the black. Oh, that's too far away. Let me have a look here. That's better. You're going through the black from your eye. 1 or 2 stitches, not much. Not much. We don't want to be making a mess. All right, and then just go into your very next red stitch. Without pulling and tugging on things. Then going into some of your black stitches from here, just 1, right there. Making sure you're not coming out too much from in here, because if you are, it's going to be very noticeable, and you don't want it to be noticed. All right, you want that to be kind of like an invisible thing. Don't lock your tail in there like I just did. All right, so you're going to do that, and you're going to do that all along. So you're going to go into your very next red stitch, like so. Then you're going to go right into another black anywhere you like. And then you're going to go into your next red stitch. And if you find that the red is really thick, you might want to pop it back into that red stitch right in the middle there, just to keep it centered. You can. All right, turning your work. Shouldn't take you long to do this part. We're not going in every stitch, we're just going in some of the stitches. Okay, it's just to lock it in place so that your eye doesn't move around. Okay. Yeah, so initially I was going to pop the eye on the bottom. It just didn't sit right for me, so I did it this way instead. So I'm hoping you like this way. And just grab another black stitch somewhere, anywhere you like. And you probably you don't have to be as pedantic as I am. I'm going pretty close. You could probably skip a few stitches, it doesn't matter, but yours truly, I'm so fussy. I am very, very fussy. And you guys know that by now. There's no secrets to you, right? You guys know how fussy I am. Okay? Back into your stitch or your next stitch, whatever. No one's going to see this part. It's going to be facing inside towards your chest, so no one's going to see it. And still, it's not that messy. It's really quite neat. I think it is. Now, this is where you get a little bit tricky.
Okay. We have this piece right here that's going to be going across some of the yellow and the green. So your best bid, you still go through that red and other stitches and other colors you see, but make sure you check the front and that it hasn't come through on the red in the front. All right, this is a tricky part, but you need this side to go down, otherwise your piece is not going to stick into place. Yeah, remembering that very first tail we did, there's no knot. Okay, so we're going to get there and fix that up in a minute. Go into your next stitch right there. Now, finding another, I can actually cross right over that green and jump into the black, I think. I think that's a really good idea because no one's going to see it and it'll still stick into place. It won't move around once you've done a few stitches. All right. And there you go through that next one. And again, no one's going to see that red. Oh dear, I've tangled up. There we go. Oh, Mary, you had one job. All right, jump into your green or your yellow. Now, just being careful because that looks like it went through, but it didn't, okay? So as long as you can't see the needle, you don't have a problem. And if you are worried and you wanted to change your colour thread right now, you could. I wouldn't worry. Just be wary not to have it split through to the other side. We're getting close. Now, we're going to jump into that black stitch right there, or the knot, whatever's there. I've got a knot there, so I've jumped right into the knot. Pop your thread into one of your orange threads here. I'm sorry, try red. Now, before you go weaving in ends, all you're going to do firstly is, whoops, let me bring that out so you can see what I'm doing, is tie those two tails together. That's what you're going to do first. I should have got you to check it before doing this part, but it doesn't matter. We'll check it quickly. Take out your stitch markers because I want you to see what you've done. Because if you're not happy, you're going to have to do this again. Because at the end of the day, you have to be happy, right? I think I'm happy. We may need to do something down here, or it could be all right. It might be okay. I think it's okay. The top bit looks a bit like that. So you know what we're going to do? We're not going to weave in those ends yet. We're going to adjust that bit. We're going to add more up the top, right across here. Okay, you're thinking, what? I thought we were done. No, that's why I said don't weave in anything and don't cut anything because, you know, this is all trial and error. First time for me doing this. Normally, I usually just crochet an eye on the piece. It's the first time I'm doing it and then attaching it. So, to make that sit properly, guess what we're going to do? We're going to go around more. You're going to go in. Actually, you're already in. Just pass your thread in through to the piece of your work. Yeah, like that. And this is where my sewing skills come in handy. For those of you who didn't know this, I did a dressmaker's course when I was young, when I was very young, extremely young. All right, so now here what we're going to do is we're just going to weave along this black here, just making sure you can't see the needle again. We're doing this from the inside now because we want this to stay in place. See how that's locked it up? Yeah, come back in through to another stitch anywhere on your red. It doesn't matter, any stitch right there, like that. Come through then back through the top of that stitch. And guess what? You're going to do that again. I'm just going to find a spot somewhere where there's some black. Oh, that looks nice and close to the edge. Let's have a quick look. Can't see it. Perfect. And pull it without tangling everything in place. Oh dear. Such a klutz. Here we go. And then just pull it up. All right. So now that's kind of locked into place. Okay, a little bit. You still might need to fix that part there, which I'll show you later how to do. All right. For now, I will actually just weave this one in and out right now. Go back into that space and then back into the red, making sure you're, again, not seeing the eye. It's a little fiddly, guys, but just think, once it's done, it's going to be gorgeous. Now, this is where it doesn't matter what it looks like. You can just weave this thread in and out, making sure, again, you're not doing that there. Weaving your thread in and out, any way you like. It doesn't matter.
Oops, should have checked. I know I didn't go through it because you know the thickness. In and out, in and out, in and out. That went through some thicknesses. I have a feeling, oh no, all good, all good. It's probably good to go through some thicknesses anyway. I'm going to pull that thread out of place. You don't want to cut that one yet. I'm just going to weave that in. Just cut that one a little bit. You're going to weave this one in later, but not now, because I still want to work on this top part of our work. All right, so there's your eye kind of attached. You do have another side, guys, so you have to get that other side done. Being weary, I did attempt one once and it ended up like that. So being wary not to move your work around. If it helps you to pop stitch markers back in, by all means do that. But I'm not going to. I'm going to hope for the best. Listen to me. I'm going to hope for the best that I don't move it around because it's relatively tight there. Okay, relatively tight. So I'm going to actually, so that I don't move it around, I'm going to do it another way. This is a dressmaker's way of doing things, okay? Now, hopefully it doesn't confuse you too much. I'm going to grab my thread, pop it in the red, like so. It's actually another way of doing things. Remember, you have to leave a bit of a tail. See that tail right there? And you just grab that little stitch on that side, making sure you can't see it there. All these threads, I tell you what, I just tied it in a knot. Doesn't matter. It's okay. We're just going to weave that in later anyway. See the dressmaker's way where you just hold it all into place and you go along the inside. Again, I'm not worried about the red because you won't see it. I'm making a mess of that tail, aren't I? So hopefully this doesn't confuse you. Oh, it's too far away. Of course you won't be able to see anything I'm doing there, will you? I've got a bit of a white thread sticking out there, but that'll disappear in a minute. And there you go. Just popping it through blacks, into blacks, and then into the red. And then into the blacks, and then into the red. Okay. Here's your black. Oh, now we're into black there. How about that? Look at that. And into your black this way. All right. Now, if you wanted to, you can just weave that across your black right there. If you like. You don't have to. But it's the best way of doing it. You weave it in. Then you go to this side. And you use your dressmaker skills again. Or you can do it the way I did it before. I just like to use my dressmaker skills, and that is in and out this way. Red I'm not worried about. Did that work? It did work though. And then I am worried about in this black area here though, making sure you can't see it on this side, and you can't. So there we go. Pass your thread through there. Through the black on this side. Again, making sure you can't see the needle, and you can't. And through to the red. And I'm leaving my stitches a lot bigger on this side because it's already in place. This is just more for security so that it doesn't buckle on you. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't buckle, but you know, it's worth doing, I think, just to make sure that everything's all in place. I mean, look how neat that looks now. Not exactly in the middle. But you can't tell. It's like a tiny little minuscule, if that's a word, away from the middle. Oh, if I was a jeweller, I'd be in trouble, wouldn't I? Whoops, that's no good. I pulled that too much there, didn't I? Yep, perfect. Okay, super, super cute. I can't wait to show you, and I can't wait to wear it and do our little story time. We are going to have a ball, guys. Let's get in here. Towards the end, you really want to catch that last bit because you don't want that sticking out. And then you're going to turn it around and you are going to weave anywhere you like, making sure it doesn't come through and it doesn't. You've got a lot of thicknesses here, guys, so weaving in this section is super easy. Yeah, super easy. You've got plenty of spaces to weave in, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. It still looks neat, but it doesn't matter what it looks like. That's gone through 2 or 3 times. I'm just going to cut that end right there. You've got a lot to weave in, guys, which you can do later. But there you go. Check that out. Does it not look gorgeous? I'm glad I put it there. There you go. That is the end of today's tutorial. Join me again in a couple of days' time and we'll attach something a lot easier. Hence the word a lot easier. Maybe a cat or a little pumpkin or something. Very, very small, very quick and easy. They'll have one little tutorial, it'll take about 15 minutes or so to make them and 5 or 10 minutes to attach. So there you go. But this was our difficult part. We did it. I love it. You love it. We love it. Enjoy it. Alright, so thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share and do all those wonderful things that you do for me. And join me on Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Melbourne, Australia time, or Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time. We will have our lives and I will be wearing this guy on one of those lives, maybe both of those lives, just for fun, just over the next week or so that you can see what this looks like on. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to weave in these ends, and all I want to say right now is ciao for now.